Hello everyone, this is Sherry and this is Blue and you're watching Lessons Learned. Welcome back to Lessons Learned. Today I'm going to show you my plans for making a Bear Paw quilt. And I'm going to make a tutorial here of how to construct a Bear Paw block. And also my plans for putting the entire quilt together. So this will be very layer cake friendly. So I have a layer cake here as well as a panel that I'm going to use on the back of the quilt. I'll go ahead and show you the fabrics that I'm going to use. This is the Buzzworthy by Canvas Studio. It has a little bit of metallic gold in it. This is a layer cake. And here are the actual variety of prints in the layer cake that I'll be using for the Bear Paw squares. This is by Benartex called Buzzworthy. And this panel, although you can't see the entire thing, you get the idea, has Save the Bees on it. So I thought it was a really cute idea to use this honeybee fabric for Bear Paw blocks and a finished quilt in that theme. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about what is a Bear Paw block. And I have my encyclopedia of pieced quilt patterns here. And on page 217, you find the block Bear Paw. And it's, I'm kind of pointing to it here. It's a little blue block there. And that's pretty much what you see around on quilting sites, Pinterest, quilting stores that have patterns, things like that. More in modern times, the inner sashing and that inner block is much less wide, probably more like 2.5. Also, in this encyclopedia, it says that this block dates back to 1932, at least that far back, if not farther. So what we're going to do here, instead of doing the 4 blocks for the actual pad of the paw, I'm just going to do 1 block. And that's going to allow me to showcase those fabrics a little more from the layer cake. And then the tips of the paw, the little jagged tips, or the claws you might say, I will be doing those in solid black. And then my inner sashing and if there's an outer sashing border piece will be in white. Let me go ahead and open the layer cake and show you a little more close what the fabrics look like. It always pains me a little bit to open these prepackaged cuts. They're just so nicely packaged, and I don't know, it's just like breaking in a new pair of shoes or something. Anyway, here's my cardboard, save that for templates, and then I'll go ahead and show you what we have here. There's 2 of those. And as always in a layer cake, you usually have 2 of each, but not always. Here's an all over word piece. It says be kind, be calm and carry on, be positive, everything BEE. Here's another one that's more of a mosaic or tile pattern. And you can really see the gold metallic in that one. Here's some honeycomb in black, white, and gold. There are 2 of those. Here's some honey bees, also on a tile background. Here's another honeycomb in yellow and orange and white. Seems as all the pieces have a little bit of metallic in them. This is black with metallic, black and white, no metallic. Here's a chevron pattern with a bright yellow honeycomb, black, white. There are 2 of those. Gold as well. Here's another word one, the white background. Here is scrolls and honeycomb patterns there. Almost all of them have a little metallic in them, at least a little bit. Some of them more than others. So another tile one. Here are some rows of honeybees on black, and it looks like I may have 3 of those. If I can get them apart. Here are rows of honeybees on yellow, 3 of those. Here's a pale yellow with some darker yellow flowers, white flowers like daisies, and random honeybees. Here's another one, so there's 3 of those. Here is a daisy, an orange daisy or yellow daisy, and looks like there's 3 of those on a black background with some random bees on each flower. And here is a black, looks like 3 of those as well, with the daisies and the flying bees. And here's the yellow flowers on white background. So my plan here is to use these squares for the main part of the block, which is actually the, I guess you would call it the palm of the paw, the biggest pad on the paw of the bear. And each square is going to be 4.5 inches on each corner. And let me just explain that again using the encyclopedia. This is not a pattern. This book does not have patterns in it, but you can kind of get an idea of how things are constructed. So here they have in the pad 2 light squares and 2 medium squares. But I'm just going to use 1 of the prints for that entire square. So it'll be 4.5 cut, and then once it's sewn in, it'll be 4. So each block is going to have 4 paws. So all of those will be of the same fabric from this. So any of these beautiful prints that I have here that would need to be, showcased to really show, the design there, that's what's going to be on the paw section. Now I am following somewhat of a pattern that I found online, and the bear paw is pretty straightforward. You can make them any size you want, but everything has to go together and fit together. So what's going to happen is that you will have each block will have the 4 paws, and then you're going to have the 4 claws, and those will be in black, solid black, and white. The background fabric will be white, so those claws will stand out. And I have already constructed 1 block, and I'll show you what that looks like. So here's 1 completed block. It's 14.5 roughly. It's a little bit less than that actually put together. It's a 14-inch block, and we have all 4 paws here. Here's my feature fabrics, you might say, and then my black claws. And then when you make these half square triangles, that white becomes part of your background. This center piece can also be solid black if you prefer. I ended up using one of the fabrics that was a little, a smaller print, and it had the little bees in the rows that I showed you. So I thought that would look really cute right there in the center. So I used one of my blocks, so far one of those blocks for that. This is the only block I've constructed so far. So what will you need for this quilt? Well, I can tell you how many blocks you're going to need for a certain size. and then I'll tell you approximately how much fabric you're going to need. So if you want a lap size quilt, you need 3 blocks by 4 blocks. A queen that would be a total of 12 blocks. A queen is 4 blocks by 5 blocks, which would be 20, and a king is 6 blocks by 6 blocks, which would be 36 blocks. So your fabric requirements are going to be that you need, for your background, if you're going to use white, like in this case, you need to get 3 yards of white. And that will make your sashing in the between here, and your half square triangle blocks, and your single corner blocks there. And then if you use, for the tips for these, you're going to need 1 3/4 yards of black, or whatever color you want to choose. And then of course on your if you have a layer cake, you're going to need how many ever blocks of a layer cake for each finished block. For example, this is a 10 by 10 block. You're going to use all of that. You're going to end up cutting about 1/2 inch off or so to get those 4.5 inch blocks across there. So you'll have plenty in a layer cake to do that. If you get yardage, I would say probably get at least 2.5, maybe 3 yards of fabric total for these blocks. Now if you end up using even more variety of colors here, and you want to cut these into 4, which that's not the pattern that I'm going to use, you'll need to get a lot of different pattern choices, color choices there. And then if you end up doing your sashing a different color than the white here, then you'll have to adjust for that, and maybe 1.5 yards would get these throughout your entire quilt. And I'm quoting for a queen size. So like with any project, quilting project, sometimes you have to adjust, and sometimes you have to go back to the store and get some, or you can overbuy and make sure you have plenty, and if you don't mind having scraps left over. So there's not a really good way to tell you how much to buy for every single quilt size, because there's so many variables in how you will construct it yourself. But this is what I'm going to do, and I hope you follow along the next episode. I'll be showing you the sewing of this block, so you can get a good idea of how it is constructed, and some pointers and tips along the way. So see you on the next episode.